r/AskReddit, brought to you by the voice of Reddit. What folklore creature do you think really exists? Megaconda. It's just a really big anaconda, and since those snakes grow continually throughout their lives, I wouldn't be surprised if some have, in the past, gotten over 50 feet or more. There are unconfirmed sightings of anacondas around that length actually. The problem with confirming these things is that you would have enough people, and strong people at that, to hold it out all the way extended and measure it, or you would have to kill it somehow before it got away. So like, basically impossible. Just hold a wireless mouse against it as it slithers past, then measure how far the cursor moved on the monitor. Or you can knit a sweater for it. If the sweater fits, that's your measurement. If not, then knit a new sweater. Might not be new to most people, but the jackalope actually does exist, technically. The jackalope is a North American legend, a rabbit with antlers. In reality, it's a rabbit suffering from a virus that causes weird growths on its head. Wait, jackalopes are mythical? Damn, I just always assumed they were real for some reason. I got a jackalope coin bank from my grandpa when I was a kid. I had no idea they weren't real for the longest time. I always hoped to see one. The Pauke of Maori myth. Or at least, it did exist. We've got fossils. The Maori killed off its food supply. Edit. It's the Haast seagull. New Zealand, the land of birds. Before people arrived, it's thought that the only mammals on New Zealand were bats. Edit. Aside from aquatic mammals like seals and whales, New Zealand doesn't exist, and birds aren't real. Try again, buddy. Oh yeah. If birds aren't real, then how do clouds stay up? Checkmate, atheists. Most of the ocean things I wouldn't be surprised by, considering we thought coelacanths were thought to be extinct until relatively recently. I think it makes sense that there's all sorts of crazy crap down there that we might never discover. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Also Mothman, just because I think it's hilarious and too ridiculous to be fake. If Mothman did exist, it would be ducking terrifying. If I found out Mothman actually existed, I'd note the heck out of this life. Kinda scared to Google you in case of scary/creepy image. I'm fucking weak, sorry. What's Mothman? Edit. Thanks everyone for answering. You rock. I think Orang Pendek probably existed until relatively recently. Still probably maybe extinct for thousands of years though. The stories make sense. They are widespread and common in the areas it was said to exist, and there is a fossil record for small hominids and other islands in Indonesia. So no one is gonna bring up that artist's impression on the wiki page. Felt cute might go extinct later. I will. If I saw that in the woods, I'd expect it to try and sell me weed. I'd love to believe that one day, when we have mastered the whole space travel thing, we will detect alien life on another planet, which will freak everyone out. Mass panic. Then we go to their planet for a little look and it's just a bunch of Ewoks jabbering about being adorable. But Ewoks are terrifying. They eat other sentient creatures, and can fight, and win over a technical superior trained soldiers. According to the legend's lore, Ewoks have magic that can completely destroy planets. So don't duck with the Ewoks, man. The Kraken is almost definitely an extra thick colossal squid, and I want him found. This is probably exactly what the Kraken is. I assume once your deep sea giantism gets to the point you no longer have a natural predator, the only thing that can take you down is man. That sounds so badass. Once you become so big and strong, nothing can kill you. Man will. Nature, nothing can take down this gigantic creature that's evolved for hundreds of thousands of years to be the top of its food chain. Caveman, hold me grog. I don't think it's necessarily likely per se, but my family are Irish, and they hardcore believe in the fair folk, or the AOSC. They're not exactly fairies, they're different, meaner. You don't duck with them, basically, and if something's going horribly wrong in your life, it's probably because you ducked with them, or you made them angry, and you have to be careful how you talk about them too. Kind of like with skinwalkers, you don't name them, you just call them the fair folk, or the folk. They mostly hang out and try to get you to owe them a favor. You don't take anything from the folk, or you owe them one, and you don't want to be in that position. There's lots of different types that do lots of different things, though. I don't wanna come off as that weirdo who believes in what is essentially fairies, but I grew up with the stories and I have a healthy level of skepticism about this. I'm not saying they're real, but I'm also not about to step into a fairy circle anytime soon. Especially not at dusk. We want them stories be. Not the poster but also Irish. There are fairy trees on our land that no one would cut down. None of us believe fairies exist, but it's just more of a cultural thing for any kids we might have. Some people do believe though. There is a politician in Kerry I believe who keeps blaming fairies for a pothole reappearing in a rural road. Maybe 80 years ago another farmer was murdered for cutting down a fairy tree. One of his neighbors thought they would get cursed. Outsider's perspective, I feel it has to do with the very rich oral traditions of the Irish. History is told through those stories, although the actual history gets lost over the ages, and the magic gets explained by modern technology and knowledge. I love to in particular, the Well of the Insane is the first. The magical waters cured kings. Modern times we now know it's because the water is very high in lithium. The second is in the Boyne Valley. For 1,000 years, the fee would get you if you set foot on a rather nondescript looking hill. In actuality, there is an ancient structure celebrating the solstice. I didn't get to hear much about the fairy tree / bushes, but enough to know I wouldn't mess with them either. Or maybe I just like stories. I would not be terribly surprised for us to discover a North American ape or monkey living in the deep woods. But I will be shocked if it is more than 2 feet tall and 50 pounds. We humans are unbelievably bad at estimating size and distance. Ask any hunter about ground shrinkage and that is on an animal they love and know passionately and spends years staring at. Someone catching a glance of something odd and remembering it huge is not even a little unusual. There are monkeys in Florida. Not native of course, but we do have wild monkeys now. We do. Rumored once proclaimed, yo, there's a cat on your mailbox. Of course, all race to the porch to see. Sure enough, there's a furry grey blob sitting on the mailbox. My other roommate just kept murmuring, kitty, kitty, it's a kitty, but then its tail dropped and curled, quite unlike a cat, and its head turned towards us. You've never seen a bunch of Florida girls hauling ass faster before, I swear. We ended up calling wildlife control, and they found it 2 houses down. It was not the first in our area, and sadly it wasn't the last. There's more now, specifically around the parks, and they are not nice. The 2 I think are most likely. The kraken. Giant squid have finally been conclusively proven to exist in the last decade or so. It's not beyond belief an even larger variety is out there, or was still extant in the age of sailing. The other is Bigfoot / Sasquatch. While the most well-known sighting / recording has been proven a hoax, the stories of them go back hundreds of years in native tribes. The description is not that far off from the Gigantopithecus that once really did exist. While it seems unlikely a sustainable breeding population of those could have remained alive this long, it's not *impossible*. We've rediscovered other species thought extinct, and the Pacific Northwest is huge and there are a lot of very remote forests. I'm a lot more dubious of this one, but these are the 2 that seem the most plausible to me. Sir Vivian Lestrade is the one person who keeps my fascination of Bigfoot alive. That man has spent more time alone in the wilderness than most. He spent a year living in a remote cabin in Ontario and has talked about an encounter that he couldn't explain. There are few television personalities that I would trust more than Lestrade. He's a credible dude. US President Theodore Roosevelt, a highly experienced outdoorsman, documented in his journal about an encounter he had with what he believed to be one in Wyoming, and shared reports of natives and mountain men who encountered it, and even one who was attacked. Pretty interesting considering, if anyone was familiar with western wildlife at the time, it was him. There are bears who have had some sort of damage to one or both front paws and only walk on their back legs now. I wouldn't find it hard to believe that a bear walked into town or a campsite, stole food then left, all on 2 legs. Everybody gangster till the bears start walking. That Japanese creature with an eye on his butthole that runs up to you and moons you while looking at you. Shirime, or buttocks eye is a strange decay with an eye in the place of his anus. The story goes as follows. Long ago, a samurai was walking at night down the road to Kaito when he heard someone calling out for him to wait. "Who's there?" he asked nervously, only to turn around and find a man stripping off his clothes and pointing his bare buttocks at the flabbergasted traveler. A huge glittering eye then opened up where the strange man's anus should have been. Just when I thought Japan couldn't top themselves with battish weird yokai, I stand corrected. That is simultaneously the most hilarious and most horrifying thing I have heard of. Not quite as funny, but my favorite weird yokai is what I like to call the giant fire-breathing ghost chicken. Reads description. This can't be a thing. Japan, hold my sake. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, you beautiful mother ducker.